So in a consistent way, and we've done different incentive charts and point systems or piano bucks or treats or whatever to try to get that going. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. You all have your own ways, and you probably have devised a dozen different ways over the course of your teaching career. But another component is being specific about the goals of that practice session. I do remember one teenage boy where I custom-made his daily practice routine. Said, on this day you're going to work on these measures for speed and for accuracy and for figuring out these. This day you're going to work on this page or this goal. He just was so scatterbrained, and I couldn't do that for very long, but at least it helped him realize he didn't have to practice the same way every day. Okay, and so our presentation is more about this third choice here of little strategies. So we can use with little kids the word tricks, so that we can get some different results, maybe more effective, successful results. Here's a current challenge we're on. This is my 30-day challenge. They had to get 30 days of practicing in 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, or 6 to 8 weeks, yeah. I think we started it in second week of January, and I wanted it done before our recital, which is this week. And so that was my first thing, is what can I get you guys to work for? Should it be a candy bar? Should it be $5? What should it be? And I'll show you what it is in a second. So they've been keeping track in their notebooks. And then there's this incentive chart. And it could be a studio-wide goal that you can see. This is studio-wide. This is one of the two charts. I have twice as many students as this. Okay, and I mentioned the boy where we needed to help him customize his routine, and I needed to communicate with his parents why he's struggling. The parents might see the mat at the piano and just think, "Ooh, good, I'm a great parent," and they are, because some parents don't really care. But I need to communicate. They have to open their notebook. They have to be looking at these things. Anyway, do you see these little statues? Those are their incentives. A bunch of composers, and it costs me a little bit, but that's okay, because I need a couple of big tax write-offs every year. And I got these from a store with my teacher discount, so they're like $5.20. And I thought, and it's been very motivating. So they've been earning these statues, and we've been talking about the composers too, which is fabulous. I had this little boy, and I noticed that the coveted statue of all of these guys was Brahms. Do you know why? The beard. They loved the beard. Everybody wanted Brahms. So I would say, oh, and they'd always ask, what did he write? So I play some little Brahms melody. Oh, I know that. And then anybody with facial hair was a big, like Grieg, big mustache. Grieg was also one of the first to go. And so it's fun to kind of have an opportunity to share a little blip into that composer's repertoire. And so this little boy, he's in kindergarten, and he got Handel. And again, lots of cool hair. So what did Handel write? Well, all I could think of was the Hallelujah Chorus. So I play that for him. That's what I want to learn. So now I have to write the Hallelujah Chorus for a kindergartner, because I told him I would, because he was motivated. So let's learn that little melody. So that's been, this is the first time I've done that. I've done treasure chests, and they earn so many points. And points you can get for doing also your theory, or performing in public, or at your talent show, or whatever. Multitude ways to earn points, including practice. But now we're going to go on to the goals part really briefly. So why do I have starbursts here? Was because I had made years ago a oath with a child. All right, I'm going to bring you some candy. What's your favorite candy? Oh, I like starbursts. If you would just practice this little piece, it's from the Faber Orange series. So let's say he's 11, 10, whatever. And here's what we need to work on. Okay, I'll do it. I'll give you the 5 days. I came back. He said, I did it. I did. I practiced. And I said, well, I brought the candy. So let's hear it. Okay, so he starts playing, and I've got the candy in my hand. And he's playing everything exactly the same way it was last week. same problems and everything. So as he's playing, I'm unwrapping the candy, put it on the floor, start squishing it with my foot.
Oh no.
And when he's all done, he's like, okay. And I just thought, you know, here we go. You did it, and here is your candy. And he looked at me, and he's such a well-taught little boy. Thank you. I'm like, wait, why are you taking this? It's dirty, it's smashed. You're gonna put that in your mouth? I said, what's your standard here? No, you want one of these that still has the wrapper on. And that was my moment to teach him that he didn't have any goals for excellence in what he did. And so this Starburst was the equivalent of what he gave me. The same stuff, and so that's, sometimes we have to be making sure that kids realize they have to have a reason why they're practicing. And one of the mistakes you can make is telling them all the goals in one session. I've done that sometimes. Depending on the student, set a certain goal for each different lesson, if they can just handle one at a time. And then let them also be participating in what they would like it to be. So it's not just coming from you and they have to do what you say. It's great when they have to do what they say. We will use multitude of sticky notes. I'm the queen of little sticky notes all over my piano, these things here. I love these because they're clear and you can write on them, you can see through them, and they're all over my feet when I leave the studio. Sometimes I'm stepping on them. They just make their way all over the house. Or you could have the student be your secretary. Okay, you write down these goals then that we talked about, and when they do it out of their handwriting, it's kind of handy. All right, I'm going to pass these around so you can actually use these too, because we're about to get to this point where we're going through the practice tricks. Let's see what other ways that you can show them a judging sheet if you've ever put, you have a copy like a Federation or an AIM, and just say, here are some other goals that other people have for music. You can show them that. You can also involve them in a recording session and let them listen back, and that helps promote awareness as well. Hey, did we hear that crescendo? Did you hear that crescendo? I thought I played it. Well, do you hear it? So let's listen to it. Okay, so now we're on to what I want to title Smart Practice, and these are not showing up too well, but this is a picture from the side of my piano's right here against the wall, and then I have a cabinet, so there's a side to it, and I've taped all of these up and down the cabinet, and you have them on your sheet. So we're going to talk about why this came about. These are some of my tricks, and I think it's important that you find an opportunity to demonstrate with your student and let them participate on how to use each one of these practice techniques when there is a moment in the piece where you can do that. So they need to see it and feel it in action to have a chance at remembering it. So you can't overwhelm everybody with all of this at once. Sometimes we kind of learn one at a time. And what we did is, back in October, I had a group class, and we talked about we're going to focus on being smart at practicing. And when you use a practice technique, I'm going to ask you which one you used at your lesson, and you are going to write it on the Smart Practice Wall of Fame. So if you want, I'll just walk around. I bought a bunch of markers in a little cup. They love choosing their own color. And you're going to write down that week what you did and sign your name, because I wanted peer pressure. So it was a blank wall for a while, and then it eventually got more and more full, and they had to be accountable at their lesson. Did I do any smart practice? Oh, wait a sec. And I didn't want them to use the same one. So they're on here multiple times. And,
hold on.
Oh yeah, let's get a picture.
Okay, that's great. And I have a question. What is the dot-to-dot practice?
Oh, we're about to
You
do
gonna talk
it.
about that? Okay.
Yeah. So I'll leave this right here. So I've got teenagers as well as little kids, and kids with just very few lessons. Oh, we did have a group class, like I said, where it was Halloween, and I had printed out kind of like a coloring book haunted house. It was just black and white drawing, where there was enough room for us to write all over this. And I was talking about each one of these techniques in the group class so that they could take this little haunted house and stick it on their piano and have a list of these on there. It could have been just a simple paper like you've got right there, but we did it in a kind of fun way. And so here's the visual aid that we created so it could stay by the piano. And we only set a goal for doing this for 1 month. That made it easier to remember. Okay, I don't know if these are in the same order that you have on your page, so we're going to start with the one that says find patterns. And this is when you're learning a piece, or also when you have students struggling to memorize. And it involves getting your pencil out and helping to look for repeating lines, phrases, patterns, and using sometimes colored pencils. And you're going to see how I did that with this little piece. This is Lynn Freeman Olson's Musical Pathways series. One of the solos called Happy Sam. So take a look at it. You can see patterns, repeating measures. Here we go. This is what we ended up doing with it. I had to use these boxes so you could see the colors better. So that kind of helped the student when they were getting to that point to remember they knew this, and also when they were memorizing, they had a little visual. Okay, moving on to the going slow. Kids do not really feel what slow is. Have you noticed? They can't fathom what you really mean by slow. They don't live in any way of their life slowly unless it's getting out of bed. And so sometimes it's worth getting off the bench doing something that's very slow, painfully slow, moving their body. So we have different kinds of slow tempo, medium slow. Anyway, that's self-explanatory. Okay, repeating 5 times. This is really just for a small portion of the music. It can't be the piece. We mark it, we stick to it, so they don't go beyond it. That's one of their favorite things to do is keep on going. No, go back. And we're using different tempi to help them be successful because you're trying to repeat it 5 times accurately, not just 5 times. And then we always set a little goal of seeing if we can do the last time with your eyes closed. They love that goal. I don't know if you've ever purchased any of these or made your own or different ones, but this is by Bonnie Slaughter up in Idaho, and I've used different ones. You can pass these around. So the 5th one is the bead of, the coveted bead, cute little one, and they like that. They'll do that. Repeat 5 times. Okay. Oh yeah, and then this is a great way to vary it up. Let's repeat number 3, let's do staccato. Number 4, let's do really quietly. Every time your brain has to think of something in a new way, it makes that more memorable. Our brain just gets bored. If you make it repeat exactly the same way, it will stop paying attention. So sometimes the variety really makes, if you've got, if that works in that situation. If you're just trying to get a kid to be able to feel confident by that 5th time, sometimes you don't want to change it around too much. I always use the metronome, and I feel like that's a lesson all by itself. One day, just teaching kids how to use metronomes. How to find good speed, how to not play your whole piece with the metronome. So a lap is not a 5K. A lap is just one lap, short section of piece. And we're using the laps to start slow, and I'll sometimes write all the different speeds we want. Here's our start speed 80, here's our goal speed 120, and here are the increments we're going to go by. So that's just to remind them that they can, it's kind of like repeating 5 times, but with the goal of improving your speed. Okay, this is my caveman. I don't know who else does this, but I call it caveman because cavemen didn't have pianos to practice on, So for them to practice, they have to use logs. That's how they play piano. That's cute to the kids. Okay, so here he is. He's going to play on a log. We're going to close the piano lid or use a table. We're going to tap out the rhythm with the hands. And this is a very overlooked step, but it really helps kids. It's also a great way to use your brain to count without having to think about, am I playing the right notes? So it's a little more manageable sometimes to count when you don't have to worry about the keys. And I really find it's when it comes in handy is when they're putting the hands together in sort of an intermittent way, where one hand comes in and out, and it's the coordination of large muscle groups. So here's a piece. Oh, let's see. I wonder if I could make it smaller. This screen is not really helping. Let's see if I can go out of this mode. There we go. This is Texas Tacos by David Carp, and we're going to play it on our table. So here we go. We'll just pretend it's in 4/4. And you can count, or if you like me and you like to say short, long, short, long, long, short, we can say this. Long, 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 short, long, short, long, 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 like that, okay? But you're welcome to use whatever system you like, or you can sing the words. Texas tacos, I like to eat. Okay, so that's a tricky rhythm by itself, but look here how the left hand makes a surprise appearance. And look how it makes an appearance here, but not here, not here. Oh yes, here, here, but not here. Oh yes, here, here. So this is the kind of texture that would be very tricky for kids. So we're going to try it together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's actually a little trickier than should be. Okay, let's go on. Let's go back to the first slide. All right, so spot practice, obvious. I talked to them about laundry. They don't understand that if you want to spot out, you don't throw the whole thing in and just hope for the best. You actually work on the spot. It usually takes some rubbing multiple times, some care and concern before you put it in. So you have to try and get the spot out first. How does that relate to their practice attempts? If measure 3 between beat 2 and 3 is the problem, but they keep starting at 1 and hoping that by the time they get to 8, it's fixed. Right? Well, just got to start over again. So it's to help them avoid the I have to start over all the time. And again, I use these constantly to help them identify. And of course, hands separate. That's a no-brainer, but they just don't think of it until it's an actual trick they can use. Okay, blocking chords is for passage work. Notice that when you actually put all the blocks together, it forms a word. Who knew if you put all those notes together at the same time, it's a C triad? I didn't know that. Oh. Okay, so we're going to look at how, this is, I guess, more for intermediate type repertoire. And you play all the notes that belong in that chord at one time. So you've got your fingerings, it's in your hand span. You can see what you're going to be doing, and you can see how it moves to the next one. And it's also great for labeling your music. So here is, I'm going to go out of this again, the Scherzo by Kavalevsky. Now this is an obvious one, right? I mean, it's just shouting out we're triads. So we would block them. If you can do that, you've got 90% of the piece done. That's the hardest part, is just getting your hands and moving them. So that's a very simple example, but here comes the next one. Okay, so this is Bach's little prelude. The chords do not necessarily all fit within a rhythmic grouping you would expect. This one happens to. Your first measure has all the notes of what chord? So we labeled that. And then the next one, so you just play everything, don't duplicate, of course. So it's an F chord with an octave. And now my next one, and C. We can do that for all the left-hand ones as well. And it just might, and you can see we've done it at the bottom too. It seems so simple and obvious to you as a teacher, but until you take the time to help them see it for themselves, I promise you, all they're looking at is black dot, black dot, black dot, black dot, another black dot, another black dot. And so that's the, oh, we're going somewhere. Okay. Let's see. And that. By the way, feel free to offer some suggestions, like, oh, I tried something, this worked, or questions. I like to go through things so we have time for questions later, but please interrupt anytime you want. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, so where's the passage work in this that the student could block? Right in here, right in the left hand. And it's, you know, there's a tricky element to this for first timers, and that would be the appoggiatura. This is marked as a grace note, but it's traditionally played like an appoggiatura. I'm starting on second line. So that might help them sort of bridge the gap between, I used to play hands together, hands separately, now I'm playing hands together, but I'm not doing all the work yet. I'm sort of baby stepping it by blocking the left hand chords. And then I can concentrate on the right hand in nailing the rhythm of that appoggiatura. Does that make sense? It just allows them to sort of baby step through the process of putting the hands together. So, and also gives them a chance to, if you can form all the fingerings you're going to need at one time, you can play faster. That's how passage work works. It's fast because it's called passage work. But it really should be a whole hand knows what's going to happen, and you've got all the notes right there, rather than one finger looking at a time. So it's also really good for technique because it helps them play faster when their hand is already in the position to get as many notes as possible. Okay, let's see. If I have one more. No, I don't. Okay. Ghosting is one of my favorites, and you probably have the same thing. Do you guys call it something different? That's a ghost, playing the piano. So basically no sound, but you are moving your fingers over the correct keys in rhythm. Can anybody think why this would be an effective tool, or one tool to try in a week for practicing? Yeah.
Looking into teaching them to play left hand softer than the right hand. I have them ghost the left hand while they're playing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, you could use it for that. Good. Okay, what about just straight up, everybody quiet at the same time? No sound at all. What would be one of the benefits, do you think, for their brain? Just kind of put yourself in that place. I'm playing, I can't hear anything. What does it kind of force you to be more aware of?
You gotta pay more attention to the music rather than memorizing. Because a lot of kids, their ears are good.
Their ears are trying to take over.
Right.
Always trying to take over. They think they know it before they really do. That's how my son reads. He gets the first couple letters of a word and he thinks he knows the whole word. And it's not that word, because he didn't want to really go through the effort. It forces you to make sure your hands are over the correct keys, because you don't have the reward of hearing it being played right. There's no reward of, oh, that sounds right. It's visually, oh, it looks right. It looks right. And that's one of the things. Also, it can sometimes take some of the stress out, because they don't hear the wrong notes. All right, so we do that for tricky places where we just kind of need to calm down. This is an anxiety-producing spot in this piece. Let's kind of take out that anxiety. Okay, this is mapping And it's all about getting your hands over the correct location as quickly as you can without worrying about sound at all. So we're just putting the hands from one place to another. Here's how, no sound and no finger movement. This is not ghost play. This is like a paw lives here. Now the paws are over here. Now the paws are here. And so I'm going to show you this little piece. It's only to these two lines. And this is called Wild Robot. I think it's by Philip Kevering. But this is the last page. My kid had a lot of hard times with this one, especially memorizing. Can you see? Look at that last line. I mean, just kind of write down on your table. Put your hands where it looks and move them. And notice they were going, what direction are they going right now? Right here. The hands are moving together. What direction? Parallel. Parallel. Okay. What are they doing now? She's going up, but what's he doing? He's going down. So that's a contrary motion. And switches from parallel to contrary are always problem-producing spots. Always. Switches from any kind of similar direction to a contrary. And then, of course, he's in another location, although he looks like he's high. He's not. And then he's got a big 2-octave jump, and she's up here. So we just solved it by placing our hands like this. So I will do it on my air piano. Here we are. Measure 2. Measure 3. Measure 4. And then there. And we did that faster and faster. So the hand movements were being programmed or trained to get where they needed to get. And then their success rate of playing was so much better. Also helps for this line right here as well, because this is a C position, quickly moves to an F position. Okay, I use mapping a lot. And let me show you another one. Did anybody recognize this? This is for like the Jeopardy question. Recognize a piece in the middle of it. Let me get out of it.
Yeah.
Anybody want to take a stab at it?
Oh, that's that green?
It's greed, yeah. Puck. Every kid loves 6 sharps and 1,000 accidentals, right?
Right.
So they look at it and they're going, oh, I'm not going to ever get this right. Well, we figured out something this year, and this is just a bonus. It's not necessarily fits with my presentation, but it kind of does. Because we do a lot of, here's where we are, here's where we're going. Here's the junction between one pattern, like what your hand is in a position here, and it just kind of slowly gets smaller. But this jump here is where all the pauses are. Okay? And then once you're there, you just play it and you're good. Oh, here's the other pause. You're good. Oh, here's the other pause. You can see how it's structured to have some pretty expected pauses. It's kind of written that way. How do you get it smooth? Well, we figured something out. And maybe you already know this, but if I look at the notes of this chord, F, A flat, and C flat, tell me how they relate to this chord that comes after. What is it? Yeah. I think you're all saying the same thing. Here's the chord that, like the end of our one bridge, we got to jump to the next location. Here's this chord. Look at this one. It's an inversion of what I just played. So this becomes, flip that F up, respell it, and it's this. Okay, now they're okay. Here we are. We got to make that next jump. Look at this. G sharp is now going to become A flat, but it's the same 3 notes. Same thing with this. This is not quite the same. But the bottom does jump from the lower note jumps up to the top. It's just, here's a great word you can introduce to them at this moment. What word can we introduce? A theory word. Starts with N. Enharmonic. Spelling. And they can say, why did he have to do it that way? But I don't have a good answer for that. But I can tell you it's not as scary as you thought. When you look at it on the keys and you see this key, get out your 3 starbursts, have them do it with starbursts on the key, so it's not quite so terrifying. Anyway, so that's what my student and I made it easier for him to map. So he could try the mapping now, kind of knowing what the game plan was, and he can map faster, faster, faster. And now he doesn't have those pauses. Yeah.
Why does he do it that way, if I may?
Why does who?
Greek.
Yeah,
Why does he do it that way?
yes.
It's because he wants to show the stepwise motion, right?
Yeah,
And
that's true, yeah.
it's like if he was to do
The F to E.
right, so if he was to do a G sharp instead of an A flat, he would have 2 G's there.
Aha, good
Right.
answer.
So,
Those are great, that's right. Okay, let's go on. Somebody asked about dot to dot, and Patrice has already left, darn it.
She's in the hall.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give her the personal pan pizza version of it later. So can you tell what this is? Okay, yeah, they gave you some tentacles or some arms, so you're pretty much ready. But here's what dot to dot is. Every kid has done one, so they know what you're talking about. And they know that if they just start going like this and just trying to guess, they're going to get a really awful thing. They know they have to go from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 and then look for that 5, look for that 6. What if some of them are across the aisle? They've seen enough of these to know that you can't just guess. Okay, so this is when I get these kids who play hymns and they want to play so fast that they just don't care if some of the notes are not under their hand. And so we say you do it at practices dot to dot, which means you cannot go until you spot the next chord and you know you've got it. So let's take a hymn like tricky hymn, Spirit of God. Okay, so they get the first chord and they can't go until they're perfectly sure you've got the next one. Okay, next one, make sure you got it. Okay, next one. Don't go till you got it. Don't go. It's kind of painful to listen to, but it's a technique to help them hear and feel success. There's nothing incorrect. It is not the right rhythm. So what? You know what the rhythm is. You're going to have the rhythm, no problem. You're just never going to have the right notes, my friend, because you insist on jumping to the part where you already know this hymn and you're not there yet. You have to do it so slow that you're not allowed to play till you're sure you got it. And that's why we call it this process, because it's just, it has to be accurate. Just like this picture has to be accurate for it to work. Okay, it is so good for, where you have a lot of players on the field. You've got a lot of fingers trying to do different things at once. It's that kind of texture is really, they'll blow through it because it scares them. This takes some of the fear factor out of it. All right, hard section first. I'm not a proponent of bullfighting, but I do use the phrase grab the bull by the horns with my students quite often. And so that's my visual for this. Hard section first, rather than last. It's just another great way, if they have an opportunity with this particular piece, let's tackle that one, week 1. Another great practicing tool that you may overlook is the memorizing tool. And again, it's not the whole piece. This is a practicing tool. This is for a place in the music where it just needs to be understood in a way where only memorizing would help. So sometimes I say, okay, I know you've been practicing it, but I bet if you get it memorized, you'll really know it. It will not be a problem for you. So it has to be applied to sections, small, large, whatever. I think that's it for my presentation slides.